Hello and welcome to the Modern Indian History. In this session, we'll try to understand the episodes that took place starting from the 1885. As you already know that in 1885, the All India organization by the name Indian National Congress, it was formed. Although it has a background behind it that in 1883, Surendranath Banerjee led to the formation or the convention of a national level convention. Now this national level convention in 1883, it was preceded by an event where national level fund creation was generated in 1885, and then development which we already know, it was by the name the formation of Indian National Congress, it came into existence. So how the developments were there? The national convention in 1883 followed by the national level funds and then formation of Indian National Congress. Now this Indian National Congress was initially known as Indian National Union. Yes, Indian National Union. The name Indian National Union was changed to Indian National Congress and this name was changed by Dadabhai Naoroji. The term Congress, it says and it signifies the beginning of mass politics. That's why Dadabhai Naoroji coined the term Congress at the place of union. Now let's understand the moderate phase of Indian National Congress, which was the first phase of senior Congress leadership. How to understand it in a clear and concise manner? We have divided it into four particular piece of informations. The first one will be the preface or the introduction, where we will try to understand the philosophy of the moderate group, and then the contribution of the moderate phase or the first phase of senior Congress leadership, followed by the achievements, that how far the moderate phase is important in the Indian history and what were their actual achievements of the moderates, and then we will finally evaluate this particular phase of the development or the struggle in India's history. Now, if we are trying to learn something with respect to the introduction, what was the philosophy of the moderate phase? So their philosophy, it is also known as PQ philosophy. PQ stands for prayer, petition, and then mild protest. You have to keep in mind that the moderate phase was not in all-out protest in front of the mighty British Empire. The senior Congress leadership or the moderate phase, they were the infants in front of the British Empire, which was very, very mighty. So they are not going in an open rebellion or open protest. They were following the path of mild protest only. Mostly they will be giving the petitions to the British, they will be sending the meetings to the British, and they will be sending the delegations to the British. So they were trying to understand that if the British may provide some of the concessions to this senior Congress leadership, it is suffice. So their philosophy was the philosophy of PQ, where they were mostly relying on the pamphlets, they were mostly relying on petitions, prayer, and sending the delegations with the British. And if everything will be exhausted, then at the end of the day, they will be following the mild protest form of the philosophy. Now, there were different connotations in this. If we are trying to understand the preface, in the preface itself, we have to understand that the moderates or the senior phase of a Congress leadership, they were not believing in the British. They were not believing in the British. Rather, they were believing the British Constitution or the British procedure. So they were believing in the British Constitution, British parliamentary system, and the British rule of law. But they were not believing or they were not having the faith in the British as such. Now, furthermore, if we are to proceed further, as the moderates or the Congress, which is a newly formed party, they are the infants in front of mighty British Empire. Infants in front of mighty British Empire. So this was very much known by the moderates. Hence, they are not going to confront with the British openly or directly. Having said that, proceeding in the last session, in the last discussion, what were their contributions. So here the contributions of the moderate phase means the contributions of the leaders which were the part of the moderates. So let us very quickly start from the senior leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji. Dadabhai Naoroji. Dadabhai Naoroji is known as Grand Old Man of India. He was the first to strip the economic exploitation of Indians by the British. So the British were economically exploiting the British from very long time. Here comes Dadabhai Naoroji, who is going to expose this economic exploitation. So he exposed the economic exploitation of the British. So we'll start from here. Dadabhai Naoroji as the first senior Congress leader, Dadabhai Naoroji. Let's very quickly come to his contributions, which we can suffice by saying that he was the first to strip economic exploitation by the British. Secondly, he was the one who gave the drain of wealth theory. Drain of wealth theory. He popularized this theory. He popularized this theory so much so that the Indians could understand very well that British are draining out huge amount of money from India back to England. Now, the drain of wealth theory was very popularized. In fact, Dadabhai Naoroji was the first to analyze the national income of India in 1860s. Now, let us proceed further. He also came out with a book which named as Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Un-British Rule in India. Now, please understand the term un-British. Un-British means something for which British are not known for. The British are known worldwide by their rule of law, by their parliamentary system, by their constitution, but something that the British are doing in India, this is the un-British. So this again was very much popular. Dadabhai Naoroji was the first Indian to represent the British Parliament in London. So he was the first Indian to represent British Parliament. We can say that he was the first member of Parliament who was Indian. His constituency was Central Finsbury constituency back in London. So he was also the person who formed one of the very popular party by the name East Indian Association in 1866. East India Association. East India Association in 1866. Now, Dadabhai Naoroji is also known as the Grand Old Man of India because he provided a platform, he provided an ideological background for the struggle. Ideological background for what? To fight with the British. So this was the huge contribution of Dadabhai Naoroji. Let us very quickly proceed towards the another very popular leader whose name was Surendra Nath Banerjee, SN Banerjee. Now SN Banerjee, he was the one who came out with national level convention in 1883. It was followed by the national level fund creation, and then comes the formation of the party which was known as Indian National Union. Now this Indian National Union, its name was changed to Indian National Congress, and this was done by Dadabhai Naoroji. So the name Indian National Union, it was changed to Indian National Congress, and it was done by Dadabhai Naoroji. Now let us very quickly proceed. Surendra Nath Banerjee, he formed a party, and the name of the party was Indian Association, and this party was formed in 1876. A very important contribution of Surendra Nath Banerjee was, he was the first, and his party was the first to came out with all India level propaganda. So the all India level propaganda, they were first raised by Surendra Nath Banerjee. Let us understand what is the meaning of all India level propaganda. We can quickly recall the example by the name Indianization of civil services, meaning the civil services should be Indianized. Indianization of civil services. So this was the most important contribution of Surendranath Banerjee. The formation of national level convention, the formation of the Party Indian National Association, the raising of the issues like all India level propaganda, they all were prioritized by the Surendranath Banerjee. Understand the fact that he was the one who cracked the Indian Civil Services examination at that point of time and then resigned from the services. So Surendranath Banerjee, after S.N. Banerjee, we have many leaders of Congress, but we will deal with a few of the names only. There is one more name by Romesh Chandra Dutt, R.C. Dutt. He is very popular with his work. His work is The Economic History of India. The Economic History of India. He wrote this particular book, The Economic History of India. Now, Romesh Chandra Dutt, and then there was one Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Gopal Krishna Gokhale. You know Gokhale by the term that he was the political guru of Gandhiji. Gokhale was the political guru of Gandhiji. And Gokhale formed his organization, and the name of the organization was the Servants of India Society. It was the voluntary organization, Servants of India Society. India Society. You have to keep in mind the fact that the Servants of India Society of Gopal Krishna Gokhale along with Swadesh Bandhav Samiti of Ashwani Kumar Dutt, they both played a very crucial role in the 1905 when the anti-Bengal partition movement started, and the name of the movement was Swadeshi movement in particular. After Gopal Krishna Gokhale, there is one more very popular name, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Mahadev Govind Ranade, M.G. Ranade. You have to remember the fact that Ranade along with Gokhale and Ranade, they are collectively known as Socrates of Maharashtra. Socrates of Maharashtra. Socrates of Maharashtra. Because of their ideology, because of their philosophical contribution, they both are known as Socrates of Maharashtra. So there are numerous names and the contributions made by the moderate leaders in the first phase of senior Congress leadership. Let us proceed further. So something that we were trying to understand, we were trying to relocate in the moderate phase. It was the point that what were the contributions of the moderate leaders. Now the contributions of the moderate leaders we have gone through. Let us very quickly proceed towards the achievements. What were the achievements of the moderate phase? Now you have to understand that they were playing the role of pupil and mentor at a single or a specific point of time. Parallelly, they were also playing the role of mentor and they were also playing the role of students, meaning they were learning the definitions of the socialism, they were learning the definitions of nationalism and so on and so forth, and they were parallelly teaching the same to the India's youth or India, and they were awakening in India. They were trying to provide an ideological background or a platform to India. So apart from playing the role of people and mentor, the moderate phase of the leadership, they were also trying to bring the cause of the good governance, cause of good governance. Now what does good governance means? The moderates were demanding that the Indians should be representing in the legislature more in numbers. So increase in the number of legislatures, it was being demanded by the Congress or the moderate leadership. Apart from that, they were saying that do not appoint or do not nominate the Indians. Although you increase the numbers, but if you will nominate the Indians, it does not matter much. So at the place of nominations, you elect the people, because after facing elections, they can raise the Indian issues very much sincerely and with conviction. So the first demand under good governance was increase in the number of legislature. Second one was it should not be done by a nomination but with the election. And third one was that please provide the power to the elected legislatures so that they can have the voice, they can have the kind of weight in their voice, and they should be heard in the legislature, and they should be the voice of the people of India, right? Apart from good governance, the moderate leaders but also have their achievement in the form that they were insisting towards the fact that bring reforms in education, bring reforms in sanitation. So the education, the sanitation, and the freedom of speech and expressions, all these kinds of liberties were being asked by the moderates from the British. So the achievements of the moderates are very much in detail or in a broader perspective important for the Indian cause. Now, if we need to evaluate the contribution of the moderates and understand and analyze that where does it stand in the broader perspective of India's freedom struggle. So we will only be able to do this once we are aware about the fact that in reality they got something, they achieved something. So let us very quickly understand what they in real achieved. First, we said that the moderate leaderships, their achievements, if we have to understand, we will try to learn it in this way, that there was an act of 1892, which we broadly understand as an achievements of the Congress. What was there in Act of 92? So there were some demands and there were some achievements. There were some achievements that the moderates got. Now please understand, the very first thing that you need to understand, they demanded the senior Congress leadership in the form of moderates. They demanded increase in the number of legislature. Please increase the number of legislature in the people. Why? Because in 1861 there were hardly 12 members or 21 members. From 1862 to 1892 there were approximately 45 people only. Only 45 nominated people were there. 45 nominated people were there in 30 odd years. So it was the need of the hour that you should increase the number of legislature. Point number one. Point number two, in these nominated people, if you will ask me, sir, who were the people? So you should remember the name of Syed Ahmad Khan and Rash Bihari Ghosh. I said Ghosh. Rash Bihari Ghosh. They were the nominated people. So the increase in the number of legislature was the first demand under good governance. What British did? British said, okay, given, justified. But British said, okay, you are demanding increase in the legislature, we gave it. But, yeah, provided the official majority will be maintained. So they fulfilled the demand of the moderates, but they maintained the official majority. Official majority. It means that the demand of the moderates was not accepted the way they wanted it, but British accepted this demand in their own fashion. Now, come to the second demand. In 1862 Act, in 1892 Act, the second format was the Congress leadership demanded that there should not be nominations. There should not be nominations. We want elections. So the people should be elected, not nominated. British said, okay, given, but the elections will be indirect elections. So what the British are doing? British are accepting the demands but in their own way. Okay, let us analyze the third demand. They said that the nominations should not be there, elections should be there. So British accepted the fact, but they came out with the indirect elections. The third one was, they said we need power to the individuals who are selected. Now what kind of power are British going to accept? British are saying, okay, now they can sit and they can ask questions. They can ask questions in the budgetary discussions. So from the British perspective, they are accepting the demands, but from the Congress perspectives, it is a mockery. It is a kind of mockery. Indirect elections, official majority, sitting in the legislature and the budget sessions and asking the questions, but no supplementary questions. Please remember, no supplementary questions. No supplementary questions can be asked. Now, this is a kind of mockery of the demands of the Congress leadership. Mockery of the demand of the Congress leadership. Because the Indians called it a mockery, Indians were frustrated from the British end. In 1890s, two great challenges came in front of the British. And these two great challenges was, first was the rise in aggressive nationalism. Rise in aggressive nationalism or extremism. इसको हम extremism भी कहते हैं. And the second was rise of mighty empires or expansionist world powers. Expansionist world powers like Italy, for example, Italy, Germany and Japan. Italy, Germany and Japan, etc. So this was the background. Let us very quickly proceed and try to come to the last conclusion, that how will we evaluate the contribution of the history, contribution of the moderates rather, right? So let us very quickly evaluate the moderates' contribution in the history, how the history is going to give importance to the analysis. Now, let us proceed towards the evaluation. How we will evaluate the moderates. Now, this phase has something to understand first. Because of the attempts made by the senior Congress leadership, India got a ideological background. This is the very important contribution. Second, India got 1892 Act because the moderates kept on pressurizing the British government. Then only British government came out with an act by the name 1892 Act. Because of the attempts of the moderate leadership only, the India could get something which is known as Hutchinson Commission. We said that the Surendranath Banerjee and the senior Congress leadership, Indian Association was the first party which was pressurizing the British with the demand of Indianization of the civil services, that the civil services should be Indianized. Bhartikaran ho, higher services ka. So, British came out with Hutchinson Commission. Now, it will review the civil services structuring. Review civil services structuring in India. Why they came out with Hutchinson Commission? Because the moderate leaders were pressurizing them. And then they came out with Welby Commission. Now, since the Dadabhai Naoroji, many senior Congress leaders in moderate phase kept on pressurizing the British that there is a drain of wealth from India. This theory was so much popularized and it put a lot of pressure on the British that they came out with the formation of Welby Commission. So Welby Commission, it was formed that it should review the income and expenditure from India. It should be reviewed and the reports should be given. So the formation of Hutchinson Commission, Welby Commission, 1892 Act, and India got ideological background. On the background, India's struggle for independence, it kept on taking a leap. Now, we cannot say that the moderate leadership was a failure. It could not get anything out of their attempts since they were infants in the mighty British Empire. Please understand this fact. They were infants in front of British Empire. So they cannot directly have a conflict with the British, right? That's why they are trying to constitutionally agitate in front of the British. And as we already know that in 1890s, when the British continuously tried to ignore the demands of the moderates, or they try to fulfill the demands of the moderates, but in their own way. This led to the frustration of the Indians, and in 1890s two developments took place. The first one was the rise of aggressive nationalism or extremism, and the second one was the rise of expansionist global powers, world powers like Italy, Germany and Japan. Now all these developments were followed by the arrival of Lord Curzon. Curzon came to India from 1899 and stayed in India till 1905. So in what background Curzon came to India? There were two backgrounds that I told you. First one was the rise of aggressive nationalism or extremism, and second one was rise of global expansionist powers like Italy, Japan and Germany, right? So in this background Curzon came to India. Now Curzon was highly successful in containing the India's national movement, and he, in one single line, if I were to conclude it, the Curzon was very much successful in thinning down the Indian national movement. What Curzon did, remember, Curzon was the youngest viceroy that came to India, and prior to becoming the Governor General, he has visited India at least 4 times. So he was having a lot of experience with respect to India. What Curzon did, he first researched and he came to the conclusion that a national movement is converted into a mass movement by the participation of peasants, by the participation of youth, and by the participation of working class. So he targeted youth and he targeted peasants first. By excluding the peasants and the youth, he thinned down the national movement. Now how he did it? Please try to understand how he targeted youth and peasants and thinned down the movement. He came out with the University Act of 1904. University Act of 1904. Now in this University Act, what Curzon did? Curzon handed over the administration of the university to the central government, which is the British in power. So the administration of the university, it was switched over to whom? To the British. First thing, what he did? By one single strike, all the colleges which are affiliated to a university, they will come directly under the British government. Now, any student from any of the colleges, if now they will participate into the march against the British or in any of the movement against the British, now their name will be cut off from the registers of the colleges and they will not be able to take admission in any of the colleges in India, right? So this will become a hindrance in the process of development of youth. So youth will not participate into the national movement, hence it will thin down the national movement, right? So the veto power came with the British administration. Now any of the British official who are now in the official Senate as the members, the British who are in the official Senate of the university, they are now in majority. So all the decisions will be taken by the British. Furthermore, they can make raids on any of the colleges or inspection on any of the colleges whenever they want to do inspection. Now these inspection may be surprise inspection. At any time they can come and they can inspect, right? And the universities which were affiliated with the colleges which were affiliated with the universities, so there came strict affiliation rules. So by one single strike with the University Act of 1904, Curzon made all the youths exclude this national movement, so they will not participate now in this movement. Now second, how they targeted the agriculture sector? There was the act which was known as Punjab Land Alienation Act 1902. Punjab Land Alienation Act Land Alienation Act 1902, right? Now with this act, anyone who is not the agriculturists cannot purchase the land of an agriculturist. So the Curzon saved the peasants from letting their land alienate them. So the peasants now are free from the tension that their land can be purchased by any businessman. Furthermore, he came out with Moncrief Commission. Now this Moncrief Commission will be responsible for providing the irrigation facility to the peasants. Furthermore, there was the Calcutta Corporation Act. With this Calcutta Corporation Act, what Curzon did? Calcutta Corporation Act. What Curzon did? Now try to understand. A few moments ago, I told you that for continuously starting from 1862 to 1892, the moderate leadership tried an attempt to bring the elected people at the place of nominated people. So all their work was now in vain. It went in vain. How? The Calcutta Corporation Act, Curzon again brought the concept of nominated members. He increased the nominated members and he lowered down the elected members. He again did the same. So whatever the moderate leadership earned in 30 years of the exercise, the Curzon in just one single stroke ended everything. And then there was the concept of easy loans. Curzon wanted that the peasants should focus only on their agricultural activities. So he also provided them cheap loans, right? So the Cooperative Sector Act was passed. Cooperative banks were developed. Cooperative banks, right? So cooperative acts were also passed. These cooperative banks will provide easy or cheap loans to the peasants so that they should focus only on their agricultural activities and should not participate into the movement or any of the rebellion per se, right? So apart from all these attempts, now Curzon is also very much keen towards thinning down the movement, and he was also successful. He only tried one more attempt, which was legalizing the British currency. Now what he tried to do, he tried to make British currency a legal tender, and he successfully did this also. Now 1 pound was equivalent to 15 odd rupees. So this was the compilation of the success of the Curzon. But Curzon failed in one particular attempt. Curzon did everything good, but Curzon committed a blunder. Now this blunder was partition of Bengal, which united the Indians. Partition of Bengal, which ignited the Indians, united the Indians, and now Indians came in one particular unified attempt, and they now tried to understand that combinedly or unitedly only we can face the British, who are here to divide and rule. Now this partition of Bengal, it was criticized by the Indians, it was opposed by the Indians, but we need to learn one thing. The partition of Bengal was not opposed by the Indians, but the way of partition, yani the way in which partition was made to be done, this was opposed by the Indians. Whereas the British wanted to divide Hindus and Muslims, the Indians were saying that it could also have been divided as per Bengalis and non-Bengalis. That's all for this session. Thank you.